Hi everyone. Today is day 27. Almost done with my commitment. Another few days. And today, what's coming up for me is so my husband has left on a trip to visit his family and some friends. And we haven't been separated in quite a while, right? It's been many months that we were very close together. And so while I was looking forward to being on my own, I enjoy just the freedom of just doing whatever I want and sleeping, eating, everything as I want on my schedule. There is another thing that's coming up for me because when we were a young couple, my husband had to travel for work a lot. And so when we were in Paris, it was often that I was on my own, at least at some stages of our life here. So the first time he left, I still barely spoke any language. And so it was funny. But what's coming up for me is that, like, I walked out this morning, a gorgeous day, just everything is wonderful, love being here, all that stuff. But yet there was like an undercurrent of a feeling that is very familiar from those years. So I was in my 20s. I was in my late 20s, early 30s when we lived here. So that, like, the feeling I experienced today, it wasn't what I was actually feeling, but it put a filter on some of my experiences here, like almost a sense of loneliness or something. And I'm so aware that I don't feel lonely, and it's not really the feeling that's of me today, but it's a feeling that I got access to, a feeling that I obviously didn't process all those years ago because I had no idea how to, nor that we should. So it was really interesting for me to kind of allow myself to feel that feeling, go into it not trying to find a label or a reason why, but just to understand that what I'm feeling, like finding it in my body. And when I connected with it, I understood that it's not the feeling from now, it's just my animal body having found itself in Paris, in this area where I lived on my own, got access to that stored emotion, to that stored energy of, like, that's, the hint of loneliness and sadness, something. So it's just so incredible. I mean, I'm not at all surprised. I know how the body operates. I don't feel that I'm sad. I didn't get engulfed by that energy. I'm observing it from outside, right? I'm observing it, so I am not the one who is sad. I'm the one who is observing that some parts of my body are having access to this energy that's much younger parts that are maybe re-experiencing it. So I've been noticing it actually for many, many years, this process. I started noticing actually when my children were still very, very young, how, for example, there would be certain patterns of behavior, certain reactions of my children when they were at home. And then we would go on vacation and, like, the patterns would change. And it could be anything. It could be the way they behave with each other. It could be some habits, like about going to sleep, or like things that the way they want to eat things or not want to eat things. Then we'd go on vacation or we'd go somewhere else, break up the patterns. They wouldn't have these patterns while we're traveling, but yet when we come back home, especially I'm thinking of one particular child, one of my children, the patterns would be right back, and it used to drive me crazy. And I started realizing that there is something about coming back to the environment that reawakens some of our patterns that have become associated with it. So this is exactly what I find today with me. It's so incredible to just be an observer. Yeah, that younger version of me, that the feelings, the residue, it's like the residue, emotional residue. That is what I'm experiencing. I'm not feeling lonely. I'm not sad. But yet in my body, like in my soul, there's like the cellular memory is like accessing some material that has been addressed before, the way I used to feel, when I was on my own in Paris. So it's just really, really interesting. So just wanted to share that today, these observations. I think it's important for all of us to become really aware, like an aware, plugged in observer of how our bodies operate, so that whenever we do access these feelings that are not necessarily attached to anything specific going on in our life, it's really, really important to understand that it's just an emotional debris, an emotional residue from something that was before. And what I want to say to that is, even when I was here in my late 20s, early 30s, and when my husband would leave, I was accessing the sadness. The sadness was much earlier than my husband leaving. The sadness was from my attachment wounds from early childhood. So that's another interesting thing to remember, that whatever we experience, these kinds of feelings that come up, especially when it comes to sadness or loneliness, it's actually from much earlier period than now. So that's me today. See you tomorrow.